Good morning, everyone. I am Christelle Coleman, and I will be your host today for InsureTalk number 39, our digital conference where we attract thousands of participants from around the country and some from outside of our borders. And we get together on a day like today to have a conversation about insurance in general in the South African insurance landscape. So today is a special day. It's the first conference for 2024. And as it is with firsts, we have also an amazing event sponsor for this specific event. Our theme is Insurance in 2024. So we are going to look forward towards the rest of the year. And before I introduce our event sponsor and our first speaker, I want to ask you something. Please stay with us until the last speaker today, because it is one of our keynote addresses, and it's specifically going to focus on the trends to be expected from a reinsurance perspective, but also from a general insurance perspective in the non-life industry for the rest of this year. It's going to be fascinating, but I'll tell you a little bit more about that speaker when we get to that slot. So on to our event partner for the day. We have Easy Protect. Easy Protect is an asset-aware term life product that's been designed specifically for investors. Easy Equities, and I know many of the participants in our conference today are active Easy Equities users. Easy Equities conceptualize the product to help their now over 2 million clients grow and protect their wealth. It is absolutely incredible to think how successful this business has been. And every time I hear it's another few 100,000 more clients of Easy Equities. So as the assets of clients or investments grow over time, their dependency on life cover reduces. So the more wealth you create, the less life cover you actually need. As their investments grow, Easy Protect clients can look forward to automated reassessments of their needs, leading to regularly reducing their cover and having the difference in premium go towards the investment portfolio. So your wealth grows, your need for life insurance reduces, the money you save on your life insurance premium goes into your investment portfolio. So it's a full circle of creating wealth. So what a fantastic product, Easy Protect. So please be on the lookout for that. And this product helps them reach their wealth aspirations even sooner. So Easy Protect, we thank you for supporting us today and telling the rest of the insurance industry more about your absolutely amazing offering. If I look excited, it is because I am genuinely excited about our first speaker. Many of you might know that I'm a vegan by choice. I'm very aware of what I eat, and I don't like the idea of putting something into my mouth that has breathed some air in the past. So our first speaker is the CEO of Beyond Investing, Claire Smith. And the reason I mention vegan is that the topic of her conversation is going to be fascinating to many of you. I know it might be scary because we've got a lot of meat eaters in this industry. But Claire is the founder of humane investment platform Beyond Investing. She's a vegan and an environmentalist with 38 years experience in finance and investment at top tier banks and investment houses, including UBS and Alborn Partners. So what does Beyond Investing do? I just quickly want to tell you about that, and then I'm going to hand you over to Claire to address us on this fascinating topic. So Beyond Investing creates investment programs designed for animal advocates and climate-conscious investors in both public listed equity markets and venture capital. Beyond Investing is the architect of the United States Vegan Climate Index. I just want to repeat that because it's quite a big deal. The United States Vegan Climate Index, a stock index which screens out all animal exploitation and fossil fuel from a US market benchmark, and the sponsor of the US Vegan Climate Exchange Traded Fund, ETF. So it's a lot, but I think why I'm so excited is actually about the topic that she's going to discuss with us today. So her topic is, and it's a fascinating take on all of this. You know, we've all heard that the huge increase in meat production, and the cows are contributing quite significantly to climate change. And that really does center on this topic as well. The topic that we're going to hear from her today is avoid impending climate and biodiversity risks by adopting an animal-friendly investment philosophy. So over to you, our first speaker of the morning.
Thank you very much, Christelle. Very pleased to be with you today. And if it's okay, I'll switch over to the presentation which I have, and we can get started. Okay, so hopefully everybody can see the screen. So yes, I'm here representing Beyond Investing. I'm very pleased to be able to tell you a bit about our programs, but more importantly, why we have this philosophy and what the benefits could be in your portfolios, with the focus obviously on climate and biodiversity. So just as an overview, our tagline for Beyond Investing is investing for humanity. And if any of you look up humanity in the dictionary, you'll see that it has two meanings. One meaning humankind, i.e., the human population. But in addition to that, there is another meaning of humanity, which is the property of being humane. And so we intend to be, and I think at this point in time, we are the only humane investment platform in respect of offering these types of programs, which take a humane approach to investing across the three elements of people, planet, and animals. So our portfolios seek to exclude, as far as is possible and practicable, exposure to all forms of exploitation of and cruelty to animals for food, clothing, and any other purpose. And if that line sounds a little bit familiar, it's because it effectively mimics the definition of veganism. If you look at the Vegan Society website, you'll see something very similar in terms of what the intention and the aim and the objective of veganism is. It's as far as is possible and practicable, which is, of course, not always easy in our current society where animal usage is so endemic. The Vegan Society has also added a sort of subtext to that in order to promote development and use of animal-free alternatives. And that's something that we also have within our investment programs in the venture capital area. Obviously, not everybody wants to invest in funds, so we also promote direct investments for investors that are interested in having positions in deals as opposed to allowing somebody to manage their money. And overall, we aim to accelerate this transition to an economy free of animal exploitation, an animal-free economy, as we call it. With an overall vision, obviously, of a kinder, cleaner, healthier world. And that's not just for the animals, that's for us as humans as well. Hence, investing for humanity. Christelle's done a great job of introducing me, so I'm not going to go through my CV with you, only to say that I've obviously had a long experience in finance and investment, and started these endeavors in the animal-free investment space in 2017 when we created the first companies. There are three companies that are involved in this: Beyond Investing, Beyond Impact, and Beyond Animal. Beyond Investing doing the public equities, Beyond Impact doing venture capital, and Beyond Animal is the deal promotion and networking side of the business. And so I've been operating in this space since 2017 with a team which now is about 20 people. Why invest animal free? Essentially, any money that is going into businesses that are using animals is perpetuating that harm towards animals, unless there is some way as an investor you can persuade those companies to do differently. And that's something that we are involved in alongside other investors, to engage with companies and get them to change. But our business is wholly based around the idea of not investing in any activity that is harming animals. The reason for that is because of the very large number of animals which are harmed by commercial activity every year, at least 80 billion per year, which is clearly some 10 times the number of humans. That's actually only land animals. If you include fish into the equation, and fish are eaten by humans, but they're also eaten by a lot of the land animals, thanks to fish, ground up fish being an animal feed. If you include fish into the equation, then it actually goes into the trillions of animals every year. And we have done some calculations in terms of our programs to compute exactly how our exclusions relate to the number of animals which we are avoiding financing the exploitation of. And so for every 1 million of our global index, which we've called Vigano, that equates to about 30,000 animals spared. And that was with an estimation of the fish at around 2 trillion, which may be undercounting, and the land animals killed. So updated figures actually are around 114 billion, according to the subtext there. And you can see that that's a large number of hens, cows, and other animals used. Some animals are used in testing, as we know, some 175 million. So that's how we get to that figure. And this is something which our investors are very pleased to know, that they are not investing in activities which are hurting animals. However, it's not just about those animals which are within factory farms, within labs, being caught from the sea. If we look at the SDGs, and I've highlighted a few of them, we have actually done research, and there is a linkage between animal exploitation and all of the SDGs in terms of that activity, not necessarily preventing in some cases, definitely yes, but certainly curtailing or undermining the ability of the SDGs to be achieved. And those are very important goals subscribed to by almost every government in the world. But the ones that I've highlighted on screen are those which are particularly relevant to this issue of animal exploitation. SDG 2, for example, zero hunger. There is more than adequate food to feed double the amount of humans that there are currently on Earth. The issue is that the food that is being grown is primarily being fed to animals. And then that is an inefficient process which delivers less calories than the animals consume. Other things like health, water consumption with animal industrialization consuming a lot of water in terms of both the animals drinking, but also in terms of the growing and irrigating of the crops that they consume. The efficiency of natural resource usage in terms of SDG 12, as I mentioned, we've got something like 28 times the amount of land being needed for a cow versus the amount of land that's needed to produce the equivalent amount of protein from plants. So that's a huge use of natural resources. Life on land, life on water being undermined directly by the encroachment of ranching and deforestation onto natural landscapes, and obviously the removal of fish from the sea. And in addition to that, there's some pretty horrible practices in terms of workers in respect of obviously slaughterhouse facilities, the factory farms, and meat processing facilities with high injury rates, and often a lot of inhumane working practices, slavery, etc., which are quite common within those industries, and abuse of migrant workers. So we consider that for any investor, for governments, obviously, they need to be looking at it if they're concerned and are serious about the SDGs, but certainly investors as well are looking at the SDGs, particularly impact investors, as a means to deploy their money. And this issue of animal exploitation does touch upon many of these SDGs, to the extent that we actually support a campaign for an additional SDG, that of zero animal exploitation, because it would be so supportive to the rest of the SDGs, and because we also think that would be a great goal in itself. So let's go back to the investment side of things. Now, obviously, if you are an investor, you'll be very aware and conscious of the risk and return of investments, and you will understand that there are lower risk portfolios with lower return expectations, higher risk portfolios with higher return expectations. And that if you're putting together a prudent portfolio for your future as an insurance company or in a pension, then you will need to have a mix of these kind of assets. You'll probably have a certain amount in cash for liquidity, a certain amount in short-term bonds to be less exposed to exchange rate, to interest rates, maybe moving out into slightly higher risk bonds to get a little bit more return, longer duration. And then going into commodities, equities with the lower risk form of equities, according to academia, being index funds, but then moving out into active equity funds and ultimately into derivatives markets, alternative investment, and private equity and venture capital being the highest risk elements. So we have analysed those spaces and adopted approaches across a number of those spaces. And the approach that we're taking can actually be imposed on all of those types of asset classes by adopting both a screening approach and also a proactive approach to the extent that it's appropriate. So if we are imposing these vegan screens, what that means at low risk spectrum is that you still take broad exposure, maybe to an index of bonds or an index of equities, but you're avoiding investing in those damaging companies. In terms of the higher risk investments, and as you go lower down in terms of the capitalization of companies, then you can be targeting your investments far more towards influencing change by directing capital towards those companies that have solutions to the problems that we have. And we've already seen that in the renewables and the transportation space with the trend towards renewable energy, electric cars, wind farms, etc. In terms of the animal space, and I'll come on to that a little bit later, this is alternative products to the animal-derived products, which serve exactly the same purpose in terms of functionality, nutrition, etc. So just to go touch on our screening, it may seem like a kind of an easy approach maybe to, oh, well, you just don't invest in McDonald's or something like that. But there's actually quite a lot of ways in which animals are used in companies and in human society for commercial purposes. And the top one, obviously, is the rearing and breeding of animals for the use of any of their body parts or any secretions other that they produce, and clearly abattoirs. But then you start going down into the sort of ecosystem around that, and go to get into transportation, equipment, food processing, food retail, leisure and lodging, fish farming, evidently, and all of the clothing products, hunting. And so we are looking in terms of every company that we might look to invest in. We're looking for any of these activities and removing a company if it does have exposure to any of these activities, if this is a major part of their business. So the first screen was about the animal-derived products. Animal testing obviously covers an enormous number of sectors, not just the pharmaceutical or the cosmetic side, but also a number of products in terms of the materials and industrial sector as well. And we clearly would not be investing in any lab facilities that are using animals. Animals in sport and entertainment also means that we do remove companies that are involved in gambling to the most part, because betting on animals is quite endemic in terms of quite a large part of the gambling industry. Media production as well, evidently zoos and theme parks, SeaWorld type facilities, and travel and leisure operations based around hunting, where obviously I'm talking to a largely South African audience, but these are our principles. And then genetic modification of animals. So the animal exploitation does cover quite a large range of activities. As Christelle mentioned, the index is called the Vegan Climate Index, and so we are taking out a number of activities which are negative for the climate. So highly carbon intensive activities, extractive industries, and habitat destruction. And of course, the entire ecosystem around energy production from fossil fuels. So the exploration and production companies and oil services as well. And in terms of social responsibility, I will say that things like tobacco, actually, it could be excluded just as easily through animal testing. Armaments, so weaponry, again, there's a rather revolting form of animal testing involved in the weapons and industry as well. But other aspects of social responsibility, which are fairly common within the ESG space, are excluded. So as Christelle mentioned, we have an ETF which is based upon this US Vegan Climate Index, and there's some kind of key elements of that index which I'm showing you right now. So compared to the S&P 500, obviously because there is a fair degree of mapping of the animal exploitation elements, particularly within the consumer products area, consumer staples, then a large portions, in fact, almost all of the consumer staples would be removed, and so that does lead to a somewhat tilted portfolio in terms of particularly the US market because of the high level of technology stocks which are in that market, and it's not because we're necessarily proactively wanting to take high technology exposures, but it is a fact that the technology sector is very large in the US market, and the removal of large portions of other sectors such as consumer staples and energy does cause the product to be heavily weighted towards technology and communications and underweight the other sectors as mentioned in the left-hand side. You'll see also on the right-hand side, the sort of orange bars are showing the degree of the exclusions according to the particular types of exclusions we're making. So how much of the market we're removing. So you'll see that the animal-derived products at 15% and animal testing, and I believe that says 12.97, is the larger portion of the exclusions that we're making. And then military and defense is the next largest, with fossil fuel and energy production from fossil fuel probably being the next group at 4 and then 2.32. This hasn't hurt our performance. Our performance has been strong versus the market. It's a slightly higher beta portfolio than the market. You'll see that the performance was derived significantly during the 2020 into 2021 era, with a little bit of a fallback, particularly in 2022, which was a difficult market for all ESG and particularly for ourselves with the removal of weapons and oil. And then we've moved ahead very strongly in 2023. And we have the performance year by year of the index, which started in the middle of 2018 on an annual basis versus the S&P 500 with that very strong performance in 2023 of 12% ahead. But overall, since inception, you can see that we've outperformed by some 18% over that 5-year period or so. And the chart above shows the attribution of these excess returns in 2023. The exposure or the attribution is very similar, in fact, across the 5-year period. That our gains have primarily come from the animal-derived products exclusions, energy production, other environmental damage. But in actual fact, all of our exclusion types have been positive, apart from the animal testing side of things. And critical, as I mentioned before, with the SDG alignment and the ESG metrics, we want to be sure that we are as clean and green as we can be, and we do this by comparing what we're doing against other indexes, and particularly those tracked by the ESG ETFs of major issuers. And I won't say their names, but the indexes are highlighted below. and there are US ETFs on each of those indexes. The graph may look a little bit cluttered with all of the bar charts, but the vegan index is the light blue one, which is the final one in each set. And you'll see that in terms of carbon emissions, scope 1 and 2 were the least. In terms of the carbon footprint, the same for scope 3, the same for waste generation, water consumption. In terms of environmental good, we have the most exposure of the portfolio going towards environmental good, and around the same in terms of social good as the best in these areas. And in terms of environmental harm, you can hardly see the blue at all. It's there in extremely small. We are stripping out almost all environmental harm and almost all social harm as well. Whereas quite a number of these other ESG indexes still have quite a high exposure to both environmental harm and social harm. And thanks to a company we work very closely with, Impact Cube, we can also map our portfolio to the SDGs as well. And you'll see that the green line, which is ourselves, is outside the benchmark, which means that we're better than the benchmark in terms of exposure to all of those SDGs. We haven't just done the US. We've also launched international indexes on which we have yet to produce ETFs, but we certainly intend to produce ETFs if we can launch them, and or UCITS products. And these cover Europe, they cover the global market, so combining all of the countries together. And also we created an international index, which is global ex-US, in June 2022. And I'm just putting these up as a summary just to show that they exist, that they've been running for a significant length of time. They're operating the same exclusions. The sector imbalances, you might say, are slightly different depending on the market. Obviously, the global still has a higher exposure to technology because of the influence of the US. But in the case of Europe, the technology sector is somewhat lower, so the portfolio is a little more balanced in terms of sectors. Moving up the risk return chart, or down the capitalization in terms of capitalization towards smaller stocks, there is a possibility, obviously, to create satellite. So if you consider what we've talked about before to be the core, the satellite portfolios would be based around companies in the listed space whose products are accelerating this transition. So they are small to mid-cap growth stocks with animal-friendly products. And you'll see from the pie chart on the top right that we are exposed in this portfolio to farming, but obviously not using animals, textiles, which are replacements for animal-derived textiles, cruelty-free personal products, with some increasing sized companies in that space in both Asia, in Korea particularly, and Japan, and in the US. Plant-based drinks, plant-based meat products, plant-based ingredients, vegan convenience food, so any small restaurant chains. So these are all smaller companies with a capitalization below 15 billion in size. We do tilt towards growth in sales, so it has got a sort of smart beta element to it, but we are imposing a risk constraint or around volatility in order to avoid the sort of penny stocks, the smallest capitalization, the least liquid, and the most volatile of those stocks. And the exposure is in the US, some in Europe, quite a bit in Asia and Australia. And you'll see that the chart at the bottom, which is against the MSCI Food and Agriculture Index, which is obviously the most appropriate benchmark for this, does show that there was a fair amount of hype, let's say, in this sector in 2021. So you'll see this huge hump in terms of the performance, which took place, the bigger rally took place from about 2019 when Beyond Meat hit the market, through to Oatly, which was listed in around about June 2021. It has fallen back because there was, as I said, quite a lot of hype, a lot of unrealistic expectations in terms of growth and profitability around that around that time. I liken it to the tech boom that we all remember in 2021, when a new sector kind of hits the market and is perceived as being is going to take over. We've seen that falling back, but you'll see obviously that there has been quite a lot of stabilization now in the last year or so, and the winners in this area are starting to emerge. And the companies obviously as well are less going for growth and more focused on profitability. So it is a little bit more stable place to be investing, and worth a look if you want to see more of a pure play targeted exposure to this area. I'll touch on venture capital, mindful of time. The solutions that are invested in within the venture capital arena, again, that's the very far end of the risk reward chart, are looking to invest in the alternatives, in the replacements to the animal products. And these are primarily in the food tech area. So within the proteins area, so directly replacing the animal protein in primarily in food, but also in other types of use cases within the food space, such as emulsifiers, foaming agents, binding agents, etc. There's a group of technologies around the processing of plants, but also the fermenting of yeast into an expression of protein, and also cellular agriculture, where you're taking cells from animals or that may have come from animals at their source. Most of these are immortalized cells now, and then growing them in media in order to create those parts that we take from animals, but without growing the entire animal. And we've been investing obviously in this area since 2017 as well. So just to complete the picture, besides the ingredients, the cruelty-free products across the consumer product space, in personal care, and also the alternative materials, which need to be non-plastic. We are only creating another problem if we continue to make plastic-based materials. And so the solutions we've been investing in that area are bio-based, using some of these same technologies of cellular or fermentation, but to a larger degree using food waste, and then using a bacterial process on that food waste in order to create these materials. So it is a sort of deep tech exposure for the most part across this area. It's clearly possible to create more in kind of recipe driven companies, or in restaurants, convenience foods. But the big change is going to occur through the development of these technologies that can directly replace the products which come from animals. Evidently, in terms of the cellular side of things, excuse me, if one is growing the cells of animals, one is creating exactly the same products. And these products are approved for sale as food products in 3 countries now: Singapore, Israel, and the US. And more applications from our companies such as Gourmet, which is making a foie gras alternative, Mosa Meat, which makes beef alternatives. They have put in applications in order to sell these products, as has Blue Nalu, which is making fish alternatives. Some of the other companies are transforming algae into food products, like Algama, Back of the Yards. And Geltor is making products which are it's a synthesized version of collagen, which is currently going into beauty products, which are sold worldwide by companies such as L'Oreal. So a very exciting area with potentially very high growth, given the fact that the size of the animal-derived product market is some 1.5 trillion just in the raw materials, let's say, from animals, let alone what they get transformed into as they turn into consumer products. So to conclude, we feel, having kind of started it, that animal-friendly investing is now a fixture on the investment scene. Success obviously breeds competition, and we have seen other people come out with products, none of them in terms of the listed space as successful as our US Vegan Climate ETF. But certainly we have seen other funds in the venture capital side as well, and we're very glad to see that, because it takes more than one venture capital fund to provide the necessary investment to grow these businesses. In terms of the audience and thinking about your own investment portfolios, definitely be conscious of this trend and the threat to the existing portfolio of holdings. There is an increasing market share of plant-based products, and I would highlight the work of A.T. Kearney and Boston Consulting Group. If you look up their reports online, also Rethink X, which has a very radical vision of the future without the use of animal products. And this evidently will hit any exposures that you have in that sector, because whereas those large corporates have moved towards this space, they haven't moved fast enough. They've generally been behind the startups. But they do need to be shifting their production in this direction much more swiftly, because of that greater efficiency, because of the environmental cost, which will hit their bottom lines. They're all being expected to reduce their carbon emissions in particular. And they will see an increasing regulatory and legal burden on them if they continue to pollute. It is a changing pattern of consumption. I could have obviously put up a number of statistics around the trends in this area, where it has been a high growth segment. It continues to grow faster than the typical food space. And these new technologies do bring different production methods, which can be brought to scale and will be more efficient and have a higher gross margin. For example, one of the companies I mentioned, Geltor, has a 70% gross margin, which is very good. And more capital is becoming available from corporates who are entering the space with their own VCs. And governments as well, and quite a number of governments in the US, Israel, Singapore, and the European Union have made money available to companies in this space. So we would adopt a portfolio-wide approach to remove this investment risk of industries that are damaging to animals, people, and the planet. We've shown that it's possible, and we have a track record for these portfolios, these indexes, and the public markets portfolio, which is applying this animal-friendly screening, likewise for the venture capital. And we would definitely suggest that people consider how they can invest in the future of food and materials for a more sustainable and stable and livable economy. Thank you very much. I'm happy to take questions if time allows.
Claire Smith, CEO of Beyond Investing. I think all of us can say that that was a very fascinating topic that you shared with us. And bringing our behavior into the environment of investment is definitely something that I enjoyed very much. So thanks for sharing your time and the stage with us here this morning. We really appreciate that. Now, you will remember when I opened the conference this morning, I told you a bit about Easy Protect, the product where you reduce your life insurance coverage depending on the growth of your wealth. So the wealthier you get, the less life insurance you need, and then the difference in the premium gets put into your investment plan, which is just I think it's just the most incredible product that's being taken to market. And the reason I mention it again is because it is our event sponsor for the day, but our next speaker is the product manager of Easy Protect. Mbulelo Mpufana is a seasoned insurance professional with a passion for innovative risk management solutions and product development. As I mentioned, he is the product manager for Easy Protect and Easy Credit at Easy Equities. And he's obviously pivotal in his role to development of new products, innovative products, making sure that the risks that we as not only Easy Equities clients, but clients of insurance or users of insurance would need, anticipate the needs even before the products exist. His demonstrated his expertise in actuarial science, risk management, capital management, and finance. And the topic that we're going to hear about today is beyond death benefits, how life insurance can help grow and protect wealth. So again, I'm all ears to hear about this. And Mbulelo, we're over to you. Thank you.
Sorry, Mbalele, if we can just unmute for us, please.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you so much.
Oh, great. So yeah, I was just saying good morning to everyone who's joined. Really appreciate that you've joined us today. And as Easy Protect, we're really proud to be involved in this conference and to be a partner and sponsor as well. And thank you for the great introduction to Christelle. So as Christelle mentioned, my name is Mbulelo. I'm the product manager for Easy Credit, but more relevant today is I'm also the product manager for Easy Protect at Easy Equities. So before getting into the nitty-gritty of the topic, I'm sure many of you are wondering who we are as Easy Credit, as Easy Equities, and more importantly, you know, what is our interest with insurance, right? So that's, I think, something I just wanted to start off with. So Easy Equities is online share trading platform or online investment platform. And we are almost 10 years old this year. And we started with the mission to democratize investing. So if you think back to 2014, I think you'd find it hard to hear or find information from anyone who would say that there's more than even 200,000 people who invest in shares within the South African economy. And I think most of us are aware as well that we have a really low savings rate. So it was a critical mission to start off with, and we've had great success. So today we've got over 2 million registered clients and over 900,000 active investors, which if you just think about that number I threw out before, that 200,000 shows how much of an impact that Easy Equities has had within the South African economy. And it's something that, you know, as a client, I was really happy about. And now, having joined the company, I'm extremely proud of. So, you know, we started on that journey, and now we've kind of moved along. And our mission now is really around helping those 2 million clients of ours grow and protect their wealth. So if you think of the growth side, we have our traditional Easy Equities product, but we started to add other verticals to what we offer to people. So one of those being Easy Properties, which is a fantastic product that allows investors to get into the property market on a fractional basis and access really high quality local and international shares, Easy ETFs, Easy Crypto, which is a fantastic platform for crypto investors. And we've continued to expand that. Recently, we launched government bonds on the platform, which has seen a huge amount of interest and take-up from our investors, as well as Easy Credit, which has had great traction, and of course, Easy Protect. So looking at all of this, I mean, you can definitely see that we're building a financial super app that helps our clients create and protect wealth. So before I move on, I think, you know, I wanted to explain what our interest in the insurance side of things is. So we've talked a lot about the create side of it, but when people think about protecting assets, I think most of us would definitely think of, like, say, security guards and walls, but, you know, a lot of people on this platform in particular will also think of insurance, right? Insurance is a key financial product to protect your assets, whether they're physical or financial, to protect your well-being and health, your ability to generate an income, and to protect the assets that you have, and also preserve the value of the assets. And so that's where I think our interest in that comes, because people come to our platform to generate wealth, generate assets, and, you know, it's important to also help them protect those assets. And so we talk to our clients, and they are interested in us also helping them with that specific area. So, but before we started on the journey, we really wanted to understand our clients a lot better and talk to them and reach out to them and find out, is this something that you really need? Is it something that we can play a role in, or is it better off or are we better off sending you somewhere else? So we did a lot of research with our clients, and I'll just share some of the interesting findings about our client base, as well as some of their responses that they gave us. So firstly, on screen, you'll see it, our clients' age distribution, and this is against South Africa's population of adults who are financially active. So people who have things like credit scores or bank accounts, things like that. So you'll see the dark blue line represents the general population, and then the lighter blue is our client base. And you can clearly see there that our client base is quite skewed towards younger people, which is interesting considering we're an investment platform, right? You'd probably think that it would be more the older people who are investing, but it just maybe reinforces what I was saying around our ability to democratize investing and get people who didn't have access or were intimidated or saw it as too expensive, etc., to get investing. On this screen, you'll see information about marital status, so which is quite important in insurance, one of the big risk factors and also indicator of propensity to want to buy insurance and need for insurance. So you see there that, our clients are quite in line. We have slightly more people who are married than the general population. And then in terms of parenthood, very much similar to the South African population in general. Kids obviously are another major driver for the need for life insurance. And then this is really interesting because now it looks at assets. So in terms of home ownership, you'll see that our clients are much more likely to own a home than the average South African. So the average South African, about 9.35% of the population owns a home, whereas our clients are at 19%, which is, speaks to, again, another big driver for the need of life insurance and also ability to afford, etc. And again, it shows that, our clients are investing in financial assets on platform, but also looking to build wealth, build assets off platform. And if you look at the values of the properties as well, you'll see that, we are underrepresented probably in the lower sort of value homes. But then as the homes get more expensive, we then start to become overrepresented. So our clients typically own higher value homes than the general population. Again, so if you look at this, together, I mean, it does paint a picture for, the need for life insurance quite clearly, the need to protect their assets. And then when you look at the salaries as well, we start to catch up to the population and go above it, the higher the income, which again tells the story of why, these people or our clients are able to invest, and why they're able to build the assets that they have. And then also by pay type, more represented within, sort of especially the white collar type of workers. So, I think this is our client base, but, for insurers in general, I mean, it does paint the picture that this is, investors are a great target market for insurance. There's a clear need there. There's assets to protect, so, for us, it kind of shows that, these are ideal clients for insurance. So we also ran a very large survey. We had over 40,000 respondents on the survey, and we asked them a number of questions, which I'll just take you through, the most interesting ones for our talk today. So the first question was, if Easy Equities had to add insurance to our product offering, which insurance products would you like to see? And you'll see the orange bar there is the highest one, which is life insurance. So that really piqued our interest, but there's also a lot of demand for home and household insurance as well, which again ties to the fact that there's a higher ownership of those assets amongst our target group. And then you asked, do you see insurance as an essential aspect of financial freedom? And does it complement what Easy Equities offers you, which is also very important. And you'll see there overwhelmingly people think that it's an essential tool, and also that Easy Equities is a good partner for them, which is probably, was a very, very strong indicator for us and made it clear that, there is a need and our clients want this product or products designed for them. And then we asked if you could earn cash back every year on your monthly insurance, how would you like to use it? And overwhelmingly, people wanted that money to go back into their investments so that they can grow their investments. And, this was also a really, really positive response and helped us understand our clients a lot better. And then lastly, in terms of the insurance products they're currently buying, what type of products they buy. And there you'll see, life insurance pops up again, as well as all sorts of insurance. But, this was quite interesting in the sense that, 44% in the context now, and I'll show you the South African stats just now, in the context of South Africa is very significant. It's quite a lot, but still shows there's a big gap there. So 56% gap, which is quite a lot. But, our clients are buying insurance at a much at a higher penetration than the general population, is what we saw from this survey. So again, from this, you can see that, there's a high propensity to buy insurance amongst investors. There's, obviously a need. They have kids like the rest of the population. Their married stats are similar to the rest of the population, and then they have much greater asset base. So it really is a cohort of people, I think, that deserves to have a really strong look, and insurers to look at the products that they're designing and make sure that they specifically talk to investors. And that's the journey that we're on as Easy Protect. So next, I just wanted to show some interesting stats around, the insurance industry in South Africa and where we are. So some of these I think, are shocking, might be surprising to some people, but really speak to, where we are as an industry and, how much of a gap there still is. So I've got stats from the FSCA on screen, as well as Genesis Analytics from research they did. And they found that just 1 in 10 people in South Africa have life insurance, if you exclude funeral insurance. And that's down from 12% in 2019. So just 10% of people having life insurance, which is really, really low stats when you compare it to other developing economies. And then on the flip side of that, 46% of people have funeral insurance. And that's down, sorry, there's a typo there, but it's down from 52% in 2019. But still, that's a massive difference between funeral insurance and life insurance. And, there is a challenge, and I think an opportunity there for everyone to kind of look at, what are the differences that are driving such a much higher adoption rate for funeral insurance versus normal life insurance. And, regardless of, some of the things that we all know around how badly the economy is doing, how pressed people's wallets are, etc. It's still, if you think about the size of the opportunity, really worth really giving it some thought to try and understand how some of those benefits or or value that clients see in funeral products can be translated and brought into the more holistic life insurance products. And I'll give some commentary on that a bit later. Another really low stats and quite scary is around the savings rate in South Africa. It's only 0.5%, and also 90% of people don't have enough to retire. So only 10% of people won't have to adjust their standard of living when it comes to retirement time, unless they have to or continue working, which again, tells the story of South Africa. And all these stats together kind of show that we really need to have a focus on helping people grow their assets and wealth, and at the same time closing this protection gap. And that's, as I mentioned earlier, a big focus for us. So yeah, large gap in the savings investment space, and a huge challenge for us to close the gap between life insurance and funeral insurance, and just generally the coverage gap within the South African economy. So, so then we went on, I think that kind of paints a picture as to why at Easy Equities we started looking at life insurance. Those stats I showed you kind of tell the story that there's a significant number of our clients who aren't insured, and we still actually are way above the South African average. So there's a big coverage gap there, and our clients are telling us that they want us to have a look at that and find a product for them. And I mean, to be honest, when we looked at the market, I think we also found that there is a gap there. The products that exist aren't suited to our clients, don't align with a lot of the time with our ethos of being simple, easy, democratizing, and really creating value for clients. So we decided that with all that information, we should start on this journey to reimagine life insurance, informed a lot by the data that we're seeing and the answers that our clients gave us. So yeah, and finding and creating a product that really talks to the aspirations that our clients have. When we started doing this, we also picked up on a number of trends and value propositions that I personally really liked and were considered when designing Easy Protect. Not all of them are reflected in the current product, but these are the sort of trends that we've seen within the industry. And the first one is around digitization. So doing away with paperwork, having to phone and fill in forms in physical form, and really giving clients a really fantastic digital experience. A number of great companies around the world actually pushing this forward, and making the whole process of applying for insurance, getting assessed, etc., much easier and digestible for clients. Another one is the use of data or data science, which is huge. It's playing a massive role in sort of the underwriting processes as well as claims. So insurers leveraging all the data they have to make it easier for clients, as well as to start to eliminate fraud and really get to only and speed things up for the majority of their clients. AI and machine learning play a similar role in really making sure that the majority of clients have a quick experience, whether they're applying or whatever they're doing, or claiming or managing their policies, and then only the few who maybe there's an issue with go through more cumbersome processes. So really improving the baseline experience of insurance for everybody. And then another one is machine vision. So this is growing now more and more, where companies are using cameras to kind of screen people's faces, pick up on any ailments, etc., to strengthen their underwriting, strengthen their claims as well. Another fantastic trend that we're seeing in telematics is similar in that sense, where products are driven by behavior of clients, and this is being tracked by smartphones, etc. And then one I really like is genetics and biometrics, the use of that. So whether it's through smartwatches or taking people's a sample of someone's DNA and analyzing it to pick up what risk factors they may have from a health perspective, and using that to underwrite, using that to help those people avoid high-risk diseases along the way, is another thing that's growing and something that we're looking at. Personalization is another big trend, creating products that are personalized for a client that meets their need. And then a big one for us is and a big topic here today is going beyond benefits. And I want to just pause and maybe talk a bit more about that. So, there's quite a few examples of this, and I'll probably mention ours last. So, the first one is an old school one, and I really like it, and I think it's underutilized, which is a model of insurance, which is mutuals, which allow the sharing of profits with clients. So, I mean, I think a great example in South Africa is PPS, and it's starting to come up a lot more in overseas in the US, etc. And I think it will probably start to make a comeback in South Africa, and it gives people a benefit every single year that they keep their policy and engages them. Another one is no claims bonuses, which I don't really like in the short-term field, but I do really like in life insurance, and it's a great driver and a way to align and reward people who look after themselves. And then similar to that is the shared value model that a lot of rewards programs are linked to, like Vitality, where you try and align what you want to see as behavior as as an insurer and the client. So making sure you reward them and keep them, and encourage them to keep themselves healthy. I've already spoken about genetics and biometrics, so I won't rehash that again. And then another one is living assistance and care benefits. So this is also really, really cool. I really like it. So an example could be, if somebody is diagnosed with cancer, quickly making a payout to that client to help them manage their care and making sure that they have a good quality of life and that they live longer. So it's a mutual benefit for both in many instances. And I think it's something that is going to happen more and more. And then similarly, parametrics also assist with that to help people who are likely to have a certain difficulty get over it, even in the life insurance space now. And then one that I think is not talked about a lot is around community. And maybe I'll just share a little bit of my thoughts around this. So community, I think one of the examples is actually funeral insurance. And what I mean by that is that people see, even though it's not like it pays out most of the time on a living benefit directly to you, people who are linked in a community see a benefit, even if it's paid to another person. And I have a personal experience, unfortunately. So just this weekend, a friend of ours, his brother passed away. And, they kind of took two different paths. She made, out of sort of poverty, and he didn't really move far off where the situation they grew up in. So, when he passed away, there wasn't any life insurance in place. There wasn't any funeral insurance in place, and there's not savings. So, her family is now looking at her to, cover the cost of the funeral. And this is a big unexpected expense. So she is now reaching out to her community, her network, and we were contacted as well to contribute towards the funeral expenses. So, that's one side of the experience where, I mean, someone I don't know her brother, but, we assisted to help her with the burial. On the flip side of that, many of us have also experienced where there is a funeral product and how, the strains and demands on the family and the broader community isn't there, or is not there in the same extent. And so you see that sort of benefit of funeral insurance pretty much every month, or at least every year, especially within the African community. So, like, even if it's not your direct family member, if someone passes away and they're not sufficiently covered, you will be asked to make a contribution towards that. And you also see when there's a positive. So throughout, sort of your life, you are seeing the value of insurance in a really real way. And that's why I kind of think of it as, a product that has, living benefits as well. And then where we come in is looking specifically at our community. We've also kind of looked at how do we create a product that is engaging for investors, that helps investors, that goes beyond just your normal death benefit that they can get anywhere else. And the concept that's key to our product is something we call asset awareness. And I'll jump into that now. So what we mean by that is we've designed our product to be a companion for investors. And we look at as insurance. I looked at insurance as a gap filler between what you need as an investor or your goal and what you have now. So the insurance fills that gap. And as you grow your assets through continuously investing, being dedicated, being disciplined, your returns will start to shrink that gap. So the gap between what you have and what you need shrinks over time. And our product tracks that. So we're your platform for investing. We know how your investments are doing. And so we can help you adjust the amount of cover you need to match your actual, or you have to match your needs. And what we do as that need for life insurance shrinks is the difference in premium, we sweep back into your investment account, and you can use that to further accelerate your journey towards reaching that point, whatever that might be, whether it's 2 million Rand, whether it's 4 million Rand. We don't see life insurance as something that you need to keep forever, but rather as a companion that helps you carry the load along the way. But at a point, you'll meet your goal, and then you don't need life insurance, or you may need life insurance, but for more specialized need, like covering taxes or something like that. So that's how we look at life insurance, and our life insurance shrinks as your investments grow. And so with that as well, our clients are seeing initially probably quite small amounts being transferred into their investment accounts every month. But as their portfolio performs and grows and they invest in it more and more, that contribution grows over time. And there's that point of engagement between, I paid a life insurance premium, and this is the amount that was swept back into my investment account. And I want to grow that, and I want to shrink this gap between my need and where I am. So that's really where we're creating a point of really of differentiation. And I think it speaks to understanding the client, and I think that can be done in other areas as well within the insurance industry. So we it also, I think, just to go back, with that point of engagement, so it happens periodically. So you can either kind of set it and forget it and it happens automatically for you, or at certain times you can decide that you want to engage this a little bit more. And when you do that, at that sort of assessment point, you have the opportunity to think about, have my needs changed? Has something happened in my life that's changed my need for insurance? So, have I, for instance, maybe you've paid off your bond, or one of your kids has grown up, and maybe you can reduce your cover even further to increase that contribution to your investment account. So there's this sort of organic connection between investing and your insurance. And we've seen our clients are very engaged in terms of their investing journey. So, I think it's a great tie-up, and it really talks to going beyond benefits, and shows how insurance or life insurance can both help you grow your wealth through not having excess insurance and keeping just enough insurance as you need, and then sweeping, using that benefit and sweeping it back into your investment account where you grow your wealth even more, but maintaining the protection that you need. So yeah, we have had this product live to a select group of people for about a year now. And, we've got a lot of feedback from them, which we've used to improve the product even further, improve our UI, our UX over time. And we're really excited now to be at a stage where we'll be launching this product to a broader portion of our community. So anyone between the ages of 18 and 40 next week. So yeah, it's a really exciting time for us. We think it's a fantastic product, and if you have anyone listening has an Easy Equities account, I think it's definitely worth checking it out. And if you don't have an Easy Equities account, it's another great reason for you to get one and start your investment journey with us as well. So before I close, I just wanted to highlight a few more USPs that we have with the product. So being asset aware is the biggest thing for us. It's a term life product as well. So you can set your term to whatever you need it to be to cover your investment horizon when you think you'll be able to reach your goal, and it will stay with you for the duration of that period. Very, very quick application process. So we've leveraged a lot of those trends that I mentioned earlier to improve our product as well. Very quick application process, no medicals, you're covered instantly as well. So it's a fantastic product. And I think going back to funeral, just before closing, we also, just with those few questions, you can get effectively 50,000 rands worth of funeral cover with your insurance at a much better rate than you'll get with zero underwriting funeral insurance products that are out there. And that first 50,000 is paid out really quickly in the same time frames as any sort of funeral product, so less than 48 hours. And, it offers much greater value for money as well. So, yeah, I think, it's exciting for us. I hope many of you will go out and have a look and get a quote and see what you think. And yeah, please, if you have any comments, please reach out to me. We'll be happy to answer any questions, especially if anyone goes out there and tries it out. Thanks. I don't know if there's any question time for questions. I'd be happy to answer.
Easy Protect, thank you very much for that very, insightful presentation. We thank you again for being our event partner here today, and also for bringing such an innovative product to market that's definitely needed by investors all around our country and in the other parts of the world that you operate in. So we have a specific individual and entity that's been part of this InsureTalk operation now for 39 episodes, if I can call it that, conferences, virtual conferences. The IISA is our CPD partner. For a number of years now, they've made their premises available to us as our studio. And their CEO, Thokozile Mashlangu, is a friend of the InsureTalk offering. So we are very excited, as always, to hear what Madam CEO of the IISA, Thokozile, has to tell us about an update. So thank you very much, Thokozile. We're excited to hear what you have to tell us.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are back at it. It's 2024. I hope you've had a good rest and you've had a good start to 2024 and looking forward to achieving that which you've set out for yourself for the year. Today, I'm going to kick off by talking about AIE 2024. You have seen the theme, Foundation, Foster, Fearless. If you have not registered, please remember to do so before we close registration. We are nearing capacity, so you do not want to miss the opportunity of being part of the 50th conference. I'm now going to move on to the format. So we're going to start the Sunday with Golf Day, and then early evening we'll have the prize giving happening at the clubhouse. And then from about 6 o'clock into late evening, we'll have the welcome cocktail. The welcome cocktail, we're doing it differently. We're going to have it by the Cabana Lawns. We'll have food trucks, we'll have various entertainment, and being a conference that we host in the Northwest within the Botswana community, we are going to have some entertainment by the Botswana community. You don't want to miss that. Day 2, we're going to have 4 business sessions, ending off the day with the ISA AGM, and then the gala dinner in the evening. At the gala dinner, as usual, we will recognize the top academic achievers, but this year we're doing it differently. We're also going to recognize some stalwarts, so you don't want to miss that. Day 3, we're going to have 4 business sessions again. This year, we're bringing back the farewell party. Not the mini farewell that what we did last year, but a full-on farewell party that we used to do in the past. And we're going to do it differently. We're going to have the farewell party by the beach. So you don't want to miss the entertainment that's going to be there. You don't want to miss the opportunity of having the celebratory mood. And just after we've learned 2 days of learning, just to be in that environment where you sit back and reflect in a comfortable environment and looking back at 50 years of hosting this conference. I'm now going to touch on a few topics and some speakers that will be at the conference. We're going to start off with Dr. Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka, who's coming back, but this year she's going to deliver the keynote address. You don't want to miss that. And then it'll be followed by a topic that talks about the foundation of insurance, the evolution, and looking ahead. And we're going to have Miss Dawn Miller, a commercial director from the Lloyd's of London. Now, what better way to start the conference than by entrenching when insurance started many years ago. We will also have a topic that looks at generative AI. Is generative AI going to be part of our day-to-day life? And that is going to look at different angles, the benefits of generative AI, the risks that come with it, and how, as an insurance industry, how are we going to benefit from it? How are we going to maximize or optimize generative AI? We'll also have a topic on ESG, but this time looking at, is ESG embedded within the operations and strategic positionings of organizations with a focus on creating value? So have we taken ESG and embedded it into the day-to-day lives of a business? And how are we making sure that that creates value? Now, you don't want to miss any of that. I'm going to park there with regards to conference and then move on to share with you that we've started with the 2024 webinars. So do keep a lookout of the communications of the upcoming webinars, which are for free for members in good standing. And those are professional members, the licentiates, associates, and fellows. Do keep a lookout on our social media, email communication, and you can also visit our website to see the upcoming webinars. And register, take advantage to enhance your knowledge, enhance your skills and capabilities, and just better yourself. We are also ready to bring back the member activations. So if you'd like us to come into your office and do the member activation, where we'll share with you about the relevance of being an accredited professional, the benefits thereof, and what it does for you as a professional. And while we're at it, to onboard you as a member. So do reach out to the office if you'd like us to come do a member activation at your office. And you can reach us on dumisang@iisa.co.za. And lastly, there is a flagship program we introduced in 2023, and that program we've named the Youth Accelerator Program. There it is a program where we are developing technical skills with the view of creating a pool of skilled professionals that will be able, at the end of the program, to be market ready, to be work ready. The program is blended. They get the theory, they get the practice as well, and at the end of the program, the young bright minds will have an NQF level 5. So if you are on the call and you'd like to partner with us in this initiative through investing in it, you're more than welcome to reach out to us. Or if you have a young bright mind at home that you'd like to introduce to the insurance industry as a learner that they embark on this program, you're also more than welcome to reach out to the office, and you can use the same email address that I've shared, dumisang@iisa.co.za. I also want to close off by saying, if you're on the call and you are not a professional accredited by ISA, the only professional body in insurance, what are you waiting for? Take the opportunity, become a professional accredited by a SAQA approved professional body, and elevate your standing within the industry. Being an accredited professional denotes your level of skills and expertise, your knowledge, and it sets you apart from the rest. Not only will you be a compliant professional, but you would also be showing that you have an intentional investment into continuing professional development, and you will also be getting yourself ready when the coffee bill becomes law, which will require that you become a designated professional to practice in insurance. Until next time, goodbye, stay blessed. Thank you.
Tokazilia, thank you so much for that. Yes, the insurance, the AIE at Sun City is top of mind for many of us. And just to reiterate, more than 50% of the spots have been taken, and the spots are now running out fast. We know that most of companies have it in their budget for the year that the conference takes place in. So don't be disappointed if you are interested to join this, well, the biggest insurance event on the African continent. I've been so many times I've lost count, and I keep on going back every year. It is so worthwhile, and it has changed so dramatically over the years. It is a very different conference. It's very vibrant. It is absolutely representative from the whole industry. Age, gender, racial demographic, corporate businesses, individual businesses, entrepreneurs, everyone represented at the AIE. So please join us there. And worth mentioning that the team who organizes the InsureTalk here today also sits behind organizing the conference at Sun City, and it's a top class event. So I hope to see you there. Then we have another regular insert. It's my good friend Rianette Whitehead. She is the owner of FA News, and as I say every month, the mother of the Insurance Apprentices. March is a big month for Insurance Apprentice. I'm so excited because the company that I represent is also involved in the Insurance Apprentice this year. And as you know, my husband is the dreaded judge of the show. So I have it under very good authority that it's going to be an absolutely fascinating season this year. So please listen, because I'm sure Rianette is going to give us a little bit of update on what's going on with the Insurance Apprentice and the rest of the industry.
Good morning, InsureTalk viewers. It's great to be back. Thank you, InsureTalk team, for inviting us back. We appreciate the partnership and truly hope to add more value this year. Although we are already in February, I would like to wish everyone who tuned in to this session a blessed and a healthy 2024 from all of us at FA News and the Insurance Apprentice. So for this session, I will be focusing on two things. One, February FA News magazine, print and digital, is out, and I'll be highlighting some of the articles that we've done. And then I am really keen to give you a quick update on the Insurance Apprentice, as we have already done the filming. So excited to tell you a little bit more about that. So my colleague Myra did a great article in the Feb edition where she approached a few industry people and asked them about their predictions and concerns for 2024. So that is what I mainly will touch on today. Quite a few comments were firm about the fact that it's a hardening market with increasing reinsurance costs, which may cause a continuation of the current higher than expected renewal increases, as well as reduced capacity, necessitating the additional cost of securing facultative reinsurance. There's a relentless increase in claims cost inflation. And what people are also watching out for this year is most certainly the increased possibility of socio-political tensions and unrest with the upcoming elections. This is a reality everyone is very well aware of. The elections might not necessarily be a peaceful affair. This is a big one, and people are going to fight for their spot by possibly making empty promises at the expense of many. The long-term implications is worrisome, and one of the many things many of us are really concerned about is the signing of the NHI bill. We need to understand what exactly this means if it happens now. A topic quite a few insurers have spoken about and have spoken specifically to us about is climate-related claims. What are we doing? How do we handle the conversations with clients? What do we warn them about, and what does this mean for cover and for claims in the next 10 years? So a notable trend to watch is the collaboration between insurers and financial advisors to protect against climate-related risks. Many insurers have formed partnership with specialists employing advanced analytics, sensors, and other digital technologies to predict extreme weather conditions. This operational readiness allows insurers to be prepared for major weather incidents, providing clients with valuable information to safeguard their assets. The reality is that there is still a massive amount of risks and risk involved. The other hot topic is, of course, AI. Who has not played around with ChatGPT? Automation, including generative AI like ChatGPT, is poised to revolutionize the claim landscape by automating first notification of loss processes and bolstering fraud detection efforts. Automating key touch points in the claims process should result in reduced time, physical effort, and emotional strain for clients during a claim. However, insurers must carefully consider governance around these processes due to the novelty of generative AI technology. There is a warning against potential unfair outcomes in claims decisions. Nevertheless, AI is undeniably improving the client experience and has seen significant advancements in claim decision-making models over the last 5 years, leading to a substantial increase in automatically processed claims in the short-term insurance universe. The rest of the magazine is filled with a lot of content, and remember that we've got our normal 3 CPD hours per edition. extremely user-friendly system. So make sure you register, read the article, do the 6 questions, and you get your certificate. It's all an automated process, so you don't have to wait for us to send it to you, which is quite cool. So let's move over to the insurance apprentice. I think I'll dedicate one of the InsureTalk sessions this year to our 10-year anniversary, because I think it's quite incredible what we've done in 10 years, don't you think? Episodes starts on 7 March. And this year it will be aired at 7 p.m. on a Thursday night. We really want more people to watch it the first time it airs with us. And we hope by changing this time, it will help slightly to get a little bit of a bigger following. We know thousands of people inevitably watch it at the end of the day, but it would be great because we do prizes. We really do a lot of engagement while the episode is aired. It's really great. So episode 1 will take viewers on a journey on how we got to the top 10 from 154 applications to the top 10. Episode 1 is sponsored by Discovery Insure with a small insert in the beginning of Santam Specialist Solution as they sponsor tier 1 of the elimination rounds. Episode 2 is Aon, 3 Ami, 4 Sazria, 5 I2, and episode 6 is sponsored by the FSCA. This is a tough one with a final 4 and 1 at the end of the task being eliminated. On 18 April, we are doing the finale live from Hollard with Global Choices as a co-sponsor there. And maybe I'll give a ticket or 2 away on this InsureTalk forum. I'll think about it and I'll get back to you in the next episode. But in the meantime, maybe give me a shout out if there's anyone who's like really keen to attend. I cannot promise anything, but a little bit of a competition or something might just happen to see who we can give the opportunity. It's an extremely exciting event where we announce the winner. And if I may make it a little bit more enticing, I can say that the MC for this event is Nico Panaggio, the MC or the host for Survivor South Africa. So anyone who have seen him will understand why this is something I mention with pride. This is after all the corporate Survivor SA, is it not? Some people have mentioned that. Okay, so this is me, ready to hand the proverbial mic back. I'm wishing you a great session with a lot of learnings. Be safe, be happy, be blessed. This is Renette Whitehead, FA News Editor and TIA Project Manager and Creator, signing off.
Rianette, it's always such a pleasure to have you with us on the show because you are so passionate about what you do, about this industry, about developing young leaders, already leaders in the industry, but also the leaders of the future. And it's a real inspiration to see you at work. So thank you for always making the time to give us the most thorough update in 10 minutes that we could possibly ask for. And from all of us here, we wish you all of the best with the show later this month. In fact, it's in March, not later this month. So now, as always, we give you a little bit of a break, but also a bit of entertainment. So the team here at InsureTalk made it their commitment from the dark days of COVID that they will support local artists. So when we bring you this 10-minute insert each month, you must understand that they are singing and entertaining just for you, our audience out there, the thousands of people around the table. So today we have Khozo Zwane. Again, a music performer from Joburg, but now based in Cape Town, following the big exodus back to Cape Town. And he's got eclectic music talents. He has been seen across various stages in Cape Town and Joburg. He has performed alongside many esteemed acts, and he is a versatile and innovative artist in the music industry. So, Khozo, I'm so excited to see what you have to offer us today. Thank you so much.
I'm gonna go. Hi guys, welcome to InsureTalk edition 39. My name is Ntokozo Zwane, stage name is Khozo Zwane, and I am excited to kick off the year with you guys. Welcome to it. I'm here to sing a couple of songs. The first song is by Bill Withers, Ain't No Sunshine. I think it's a nice song. It has a sad meaning, but I think, there's something special about it. And so here it is. I hope you guys enjoy. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. It's not warm when she's away. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone, and she's always gone too long. Anytime she goes away, wonder this time when she's gone. Wonder if she's gone to stay. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone, and she's always gone too long. Anytime she goes away. And I know, no, I gotta leave this young thing alone. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. The next song is a song by Leon Bridges. I just need my capo. I'm back. It's a song by Leon Bridges called River. And yeah, I just really enjoyed the song, and I hope that you guys do as well. Let's do it. Been traveling these wide roads for so long that my heart's been far from you. 10,000 miles gone, and ooh, I wanna come near and give every part of me, but there's blood on my hands and my lips aren't clean. In my darkness I remember Mama's words reoccur to me. Surrender to the good Lord, and He'll wipe your slate clean. Take me to your river, I wanna go. Oh, go, oh Lord, take me to your river, I wanna know. Tip me your smooth waters, I go in as a man with many crimes. Come up for air, as my sins flow down the Jordan. And ooh, I wanna come near and give every part of me, but there's blood on my hands and my lips are unclean. Yes, take me to your river. I wanna go. Oh, go, oh Lord, take me to your river. I wanna know. Oh, go, oh Lord, take me to your river. I wanna go. The last song that I will be doing is a song by myself. It's called Shia. And yes, thank you again to Insure Talks for having us. And yeah, enjoy. I was on the road. No. There it is. I was on the road, feeling all alone. Ventured down to coast and realized it's true. I was by myself with no one to help, far from my mother with a gracious hand. Akushiya inhlungu zakho, oh, amanje shiya ma, akushiya inhlungu zakho, oh. I had a friend, she was the best of them, who turned to a lover, and within seconds she left. I told her I'm no good, so to my surprise, she thought I'd love me like she could. Journeys down memory lane. Oh, someday the sky will scream my name. Journeys down memory lane. Oh, someday the sky will scream my name. Amanje shiyama, 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 akushiya inhlungu zakho, oh. Amanje shiya, akushiya inhlungu zakho, amanje shiyama, shiya, akushiya inhlungu zakho, Thank you guys so much for having me.
Thank you and welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that insert and that you had a bit of a rest and you've got a cup of coffee or a glass of water. Okay, so we're reaching almost the end of today, and we, as always, try to leave some of the best for last. So our second last speaker for the day is in keeping with our fintech theme, someone from Sanlam. So Yannick Richter is a senior solutions engineer from Sanlam, and he works at Sanlam Fintech, and he brings well over a decade worth of industry experience in engineering. His technical acumen includes the design and implementation of distributed systems on both Azure and AWS platforms, and he's got a strong command over a number of IT languages that I am going to not read to you because I don't understand what they do. So I'm very much looking forward to Yannick's talk today. He has a commitment that lies in harnessing state-of-the-art technologies to craft scalable solutions, ensuring a collaborative approach to effectively tackle complex business challenges. So using the tools that we have at our disposal in the digital world to make sure that business become less complicated. And to this effect, Yannick's topic is ubiquitous language and its role in building enterprise insurance software. It sounds like a mouthful, but I have a suspicion that after the end of this insert, we'll all be a little bit more well-informed on the topic of fintech. Thank you very much, Yannick, for joining us, and we look forward to your insert.
Hello, everyone. I'm indeed a techie. I don't feel like one today because I'm wearing a collared shirt and a what's it, a blazer, and this is all for you guys. So I'm going to just start off by sharing my screen here and getting the presentation up and running. Okay. So today, we're talking about the ubiquitous language and its role in building enterprise insurance applications. So it sounds complicated, it's not, and I'm going to talk you all through it. So my name is Yannick Richter. I am a senior solutions engineer at Sanlam Fintech. And please, if you do have any questions along this talk, please just post them in the Q&A section. And if there's time left, I'll address those questions. So we're going to be covering some key points, and those key points are we're going to talk about the importance of...
It's Llewellyn here. We don't seem to see your slides.
You don't see the presentation?
Yes, correct. We don't see the presentation. Can you just quickly reshare? Great. We can see your screen now. Yeah, it's coming up. Thank you so much.
Cool. Thanks for that. So I'm going to be covering some key points today. We're going to talk about the importance of a common language for seamless collaboration. So this is between tech and the various business units, including our stakeholders. We're going to establish a common language for your business. We're going to talk about the importance of domain modeling around our business. So this is splitting up our business into various domains to make it more manageable. We're going to talk about AI. It seems to be a very hot topic at the moment, so we can't do a presentation without talking about AI. And how it increases our developer or engineering efficiency. And we're going to talk about event storming, and this is a very exciting topic. We're going to talk about the role it plays in understanding our business events and the data flow going through our various application services. And the concept of business rules, which you all should be fairly familiar with, but we're going to talk about invariance and how that plays a role in establishing those business rules in our tech solutions. And then the misconception about microservices. I don't know if you've heard, this is also a bit of a buzzword. It's been going on for quite some time in the tech industry. And there's a couple of misconceptions there that I'm just going to talk about. And then I'm going to talk about building decoupled systems with implementing this domain-driven design. So it's not going to be, to start off, it's not going to be too technical, I promise. And I'll ease you into the technical part as we go through this presentation. Okay, so let's start off with the ubiquitous language and what it is and why it is important. So here we have a quote by Eric Evans. He is one of the most prolific writers in tech, and he wrote this book in 2003 called Tackling Complexity in the Heart of Software. And from that book, he says, any good software is built on the foundation of a common language shared by developers and stakeholders. It's the bedrock of collaboration and a central concept in domain-driven design. So what this means is it's extremely important to establish that common language so that we can all speak the same language. How often have you talked to tech people and it's just gibberish? You don't understand what's going on. It's really aligning across the business. So words are extremely important. So in your personal life and business, you need to be careful about the words that you use. And this is incredibly important when it actually comes down to our product design and development within our businesses. So for instance, let's take a developer. A developer might refer to one of our clients as a customer. A project manager might refer to them as a client, and a business analyst as a party. Or maybe monthly repayment or monthly payment by developer might be called a policy collection or a premium collection, or just a premium by a business analyst and so on. And when you have all these people in a single room, when you start talking a different language, it becomes increasingly difficult to follow what is going on. So immediately, you might not see the issue, but it's of vital importance that we really honor this initial stage of any software project so that we form this common language. And if we have this common language, we can then start modeling our business around it. We can be in a room with all these various people speaking the same language to really advance the project and propel it forward. And it also it creates greater collaboration between teams, between disciplines. And within our business, we need to speak this ubiquitous language. So the ubiquitous language really refers to a common language. So when you say ubiquitous language, it's just a fancy word for saying we speak a common language. It's a more techie term. So if you want to just throw it out there, you'll sound very clever. And what this leads to, if we don't have this language, it leads to miscommunication, increased development time, and we all know how expensive engineering time is. Quality issues means that we can push the wrong stuff into our production environments. It's difficult to understand our business needs. And that's the core of any software project. And that's where there's a big misconception when building software. People just want to build without understanding the actual business needs. And then technical debt. Technical debt refers to accumulating more things that you need to fix as you do development, which adds to our cost, which adds to delays in our projects. And then at the very end, team frustration. If you work with a team that's frustrated, you're not going to get optimal results. So we need to get all of this stuff right even before we start our initial development on our projects. So how do we at Sanlam Fintech approach our projects? So at Sanlam Fintech, we are busy building a lot of new products at any given time. We are a relatively new division, but we are adopting cutting-edge tech. And we're basing this off of tried and tested methodologies. And you'll see that I'm quoting quite a few people because these are the books I read. These are the books that we all read in Sanlam Fintech. And it's important that we understand these fundamental concepts. And a lot of these books, and I'll share it towards the end, is also very useful for non-tech people. It's really in an age where tech is at the forefront. It is important. It's of vital importance that everyone understands how tech works, how we run these projects, and how we form this ubiquitous language. So moving on, we're going to start talking about domain modeling and what domain modeling is. So the first thing is we want to break up our business into smaller pieces, because it's very difficult to understand or model an entire business. And we do this by breaking it up into bite-sized pieces. So Martin Fowler, British software engineer, is another quote from him. He's written books like Patterns of Enterprise Software Engineering, Domain-Specific Languages, System Analyst Techniques. And this is very pertinent and applicable to this slide deck. So he says, domain modeling is the process of creating a conceptual model of the domain that incorporates both behavior and data. A good domain model provides a solid foundation for the software architecture, facilitating a deeper understanding of the business process and enabling more intuitive and maintainable software development. So again, it's emphasizing the importance of building your software around the business. And there's various really cool and interesting ways that you can do that. So let's look at the insurance domains. So at Sanlam Fintech, there's a bunch of insurance domains. But this is not just applicable to us. It's applicable to any insurance business. And these things might look familiar to you. So you've got a KYC, so knowing your customer. You've got a quote that you might to administer, a policy, and then documents that we need to be able to send to our customers, a communication platform, email, SMS, WhatsApp, whatever that is. Our customers, we need to be able to have an accounting ledger where we store all the financial transactions, auditing, claims processing, collections, so that we can actually get money in. Without that, we won't be able to administer any policies, our products, and then how those products relate to our partners, the partners being people that sells insurance products on our platforms. So let's look at customer. So this is a customer domain, and we're going to just look at what that model looks like. So in its most simplest form, a customer can have different attributes, different values, things that describe the customer. Could be a name, last name, date of birth, ID number, passport number, and so on. But now there's a new business requirement that comes in. We're already developing this thing, and there's a new business requirement, which is we need to be able to sell insurance products to organizations. Now, what do the engineers go and do? They go and they create a different entity, which is called customer organization, and they rename their person to customer person. And now what happens here is there's a bunch of duplication that's starting to happen. We have to now write services for each one of these different entities. And rather what we need to do is we need to start identifying what that actual domain model looks like and where can we reuse models. So what we can do is we can create a base customer. We know that a company has a name. We know that a person has a name. We know that both of them have contact details. And then stuff that's specific to that person or that organization. For person, it's last name, date of birth, ID number. And for organization, it's division, registration number, and business type. And then we can just add stuff. Like here I have a ridiculous example of space goats. And we can have like a space registration number that you add to that. And so on, you can start modeling your business domain. Okay, so I've defined domains, right? So it's paramount to understand that if we don't get it right from the get-go, it's going to just delay anything that we do in the project going down. We also don't want to get too bogged down with the details because we don't know everything up front. How often have you gone into a project and you're learning as you're going along, not just as an engineer, but as a business unit by itself? So we continuously want to move and work towards a deeper model. And that's also a concept by Martin Fowler. It's continuously, we want to iterate and build a deeper understanding of our business. And we want to fail fast. We want to start engineering, see what doesn't work, and just iterate on it. And while we're doing all of this, we're forming this ubiquitous language. As we're iterating on the software, we're all starting to speak the same language. And then the engineers can start building out the domains. And why do we have to write code when we can just get AI to do it for us? So as a team, we use GitHub Copilot. It's essentially a little AI software that runs in your editor, which is where we write our code. And we can get it to write these domains for us. So gone are the days where we have to sit and do repetitive implementations of code. We can just give our domain models, spits out the implementation. We do a little bit of massaging to make it work. And then we can even get it to write our tests and so on. So now we're moving on to something called event storming. And it sounds interesting, but it's really a fun thing to do in a business, especially if you're developing software. So we're going to start by tackling the complexity at the heart of software. So what event storming is, and this is a very nice quote by Sam Newman, also an incredible writer on microservices, which we'll get to later. He says, rather than having an architect sit in a corner and come up with their own representation of what the domain model is, event storming brings together technical and non-technical stakeholders in a joint exercise. And how this looks is it's actually a bunch of people that go into a room. Imagine a boardroom. We do it in a boardroom in Sanlam with glass windows, and we just put stickies up. And we start tackling the different domains. So we've talked about customer. So we'll talk about what does a customer look like, okay? So the customer, we need to be able to save a customer away. We need to be able to read that customer details. We need to be able to have a customer make a payment and so on. And as we're elaborating on this, we're starting to define the services that we have to build while we are, again, working on this common ubiquitous language. And building these events, and these are called events, these things that gets ingested and pushed through our services, is also at the heart of domain-driven design. It allows us to not centrally store data or tightly couple these services into one monolith. It allows us to handle them as separate services, having events through an event broker, just push out events and we can listen to those events. So let's take, for instance, a customer makes a payment, right? This is the command going into our system. It goes into our collections domain because we know that we need to collect the money. We then call out to a payment provider to ask, hey, can you process this payment for me? Payment provider comes back and they says, yeah, your payment is approved. You can go ahead. And what that orange is, the payment is approved, is an event going out. We just emit an event that says, hey, here's all the details of this collection that was made. Here's the policy number. Here's the customer information. And we emit an event, and whoever is interested in that, in the entire Sanlam FinTech, in any division, can ingest it and do whatever they want with it. So, for instance, the accounting domain might be interested in that. They might listen to that event and go, hey, I need to save this to my ledger. And then the policy domain might want to be interested in that to know whether the policy needs to be active or not. If they're in arrears for 3 months, then we have to cancel the policy. And then within the communications domain, we might be interested in sending invoices. And the nice thing about this is we're not calling out to these services directly. We're just saying, hey, this fact occurred. Are you interested? And if you're interested, it's your decision whether you want to use it or not. So let's talk about business events. Let's continue down that the path. So I talked about facts. These business events are facts that occurs in the business. And it's important to identify all your important business events because that's what's going to drive the decentralized model that you're building with these services. You can start building out stuff like data meshes where you don't just have all of your data in a central place. You can just listen to these events and store the data away as you choose. And they communicate via something that is called an event broker. So now we've got a unified vision for our development. We've all sat in these event storming sessions. The engineers know exactly what to do. We start writing down these user stories, which is what the developers use to develop from. So these are detailed stories. And we know what our business goals are. So we can just start developing, right? So where does that leave us? We're now currently in a very good space where we can see how the business fits together. What's interesting is we haven't really talked about any of the infrastructure or the systems. We've only been talking about the domain, the business domain. So you might be thinking, that's interesting. So you haven't been writing code, but we have. We've been implementing that code as a one-to-one to the business models that we've defined. And we keep that code completely separate from our infrastructure. We have no concern of where we're hosting it, whether it's in Azure, whether it's in AWS, whether it's in Google Cloud. We don't care. The biggest thing that we're worried about is completely modeling your domain around the business, which means it's got a bunch of benefits. Is if there's change in the business, the developers exactly know what the impact is. The stakeholders know exactly what the development impact is because the stakeholders now understand the development. They understand the terms. They understand the implementation to a certain extent. And I'm going to show you code later. And I promise you're going to understand that code. And there's a lot of ways to do this in tech. And it's called, there's 3 different concepts. There's more. But the 3 prolific ones are clean architecture, hexagonal architecture, and onion architecture. And this is just a way of layering your infrastructure, your application layer, and your domain separately from each other so that they run completely independently from each other. Okay, so let's talk about business rules. So I think we all know what business rules are. These are very important rules that it's the core policies of our business. These rules need to be adhered by the tech. If it doesn't adhere to it, then there's going to be mistakes. Things are going to get persisted or added to your databases, which is incorrect. There's going to be issues in your systems that you need to cater for down the line. And that's where invariants come in. Invariance is a more techie concept of the non-negotiable truths of our domain models, also known as our aggregate truths. So we enforce these invariants on a domain model level. And what that basically means is it means that if there is anything that is not conforming to our business rules that we have identified and implemented in code, we will throw an exception and say, listen, this model is in an invalid state. It's not conforming to our business rules. So I'm not going to allow you to save this away to a database. I'm not going to allow you to send out any events for the downstream systems because it's invalid. And then there's a difference between invalid data and a downstream service that's down. If it's invalid data, then we just go back to the front end and say, listen, your request is nonsense. Something's not right. But if it's a service downstream, we can then retry. We can retry until the database is up. So there's a difference between business rules and system failure. So now we have all of this, and we have our business rules that is being implemented by our domain experts. And this can often be done in collaboration as well. But often the domain experts are the ones that really understand the core business rules of the different domains. So let's look at a couple of examples using policy. So when we're building our invariants, notice how we're coding around a ubiquitous language. So this is code written in Java. And what we can see here is this is something called the specification pattern, created by Eric Evans and Martin Fowler in collaboration. And what this does is we look at whether this invariant is satisfied, and we're able to chain these invariants. So you'll see that if you must have policyholder, and it can only contain products of the same category, and it must contain a base product. It must have a premium. It cannot be active and in arrears for 3 months. It must have billing details. And then we pass in the policy, we do all those checks, and if it doesn't work, we throw an exception. So that code, by just looking at it, is actually human readable. You can understand that because we're reflecting the business domain and the business rules. So now let's talk about microservices. So this is where it's getting a little bit more on the technical side. But if there's any more techie people on this call, I don't exactly know what the demographic is, but then you have most definitely heard of microservices. And I'm going to talk about the misconceptions around microservices. So microservices is a way of designing software where you can operate these services independently. And we call that loosely coupled. We see a microservice as a unit of deployment. And what that really means is that when we have this one big software system that encompasses all of our domains, we need to release that entire thing to production if we want to add a feature, do a bug fix. And that comes with risk, right? So we want to avoid, especially in insurance, we want to avoid risk as much as possible. So we're splitting up our services into various units of deployment. But there is a caveat. This all seems great, but if you don't understand your business domain from the get-go, if you start building software and you don't understand what your business goals are, how are you going to scale as a company, what your domains are, and so on, then how are you going to model these microservices? Because what often happens in software development is we just want to build, and then we start building all these domains out and these services out, and then we realize, oh, but customer and parties are actually the same thing. We need to now merge it. So now we have to go in and we have to merge these microservices and so on. So that's where the concept of a monolith comes in. And it's always, in my opinion, easier to start off simple. Start defining your services. And as the business grows, you can start breaking up your system into various microservices that you can then loosely couple around the business. So here I've got a slide that engineers just want to have fun. They just want to dive straight into development. And I'm guilty of that. I love writing code, but I can promise you it is a novelty that wears off very quickly when you don't have a strong foundation. I think every engineer towards the end of a software, even in the middle of the software project, if you don't have your requirements ready and if you don't have a strong understanding of what you're building and the ubiquitous language hasn't been formed, then you get frustrated. You don't really want to work on this project anymore. And that's where I go back to that team frustration. If you've got a team that isn't excited about the code that they write, then you're not going to have a project of good quality. And it's important to note that, again, the developers might already have started on the infrastructure, and we don't want that. We don't want to even think about the infrastructure at this stage. Yes, it's fine to do a little bit of a proof of concept to see what the speed is of a certain service when we run it on Amazon AWS. We might want to do that, but we don't want to build fully fledged implementations without understanding the domain first. And if there's uncertainty around these domains, we're just going to do rework, and it's extremely expensive. So now we're going to talk about event-driven design built on top of these microservices. So when do we use microservices? So microservices are great at modeling our various domains and basically encapsulating those domains into various services. So if you've got a strong idea of your domain model, then yes, start with building microservices, start playing around, but don't do that before you understand the domains. It also is great at creating these loosely coupled services that are risk-free of releasing. While we're reducing the risk as much as we can. We can release a customer service without affecting our collections domain. And if there is an issue with some of the events that might be poisoned, or there's an issue with the data that's coming through, then we can just roll back that one service. Roll back meaning we're going to a previous state, the previous release, without affecting any of the other services. So we're really reducing risk in that respect. And when it's expertly implemented, it's really a very nice way of reflecting the business. And it really creates a very nice working environment where developers can work in parallel. They can work in different microservices, different domains without affecting each other. And it's really nice because then you can improve developer efficiency. So let's take a look at the monolith. So this is a monolith. This is a single unit of deployment, meaning that if we want to release policy, quote, product, and collection, we have to release everything together. So now what we do is we split these up in different services. But now the question is, how do these services communicate to each other, with each other? Because a collection service might need to know, or will need to know, what the policy is it needs to do a collection on. So this is where an event broker comes in. And this event broker receives and sends messages. Basically, well, it actually just receives the messages and says, hey, a fact has occurred, and then someone can be interested in it, like I mentioned before. So, in summary, we have tackled some relatively complex topics. I know if you're not in tech, some of this might be gibberish to you, but I really hope that I've done a good job in explaining it to everyone. And as a company, we've formed this ubiquitous language, and we've modeled our domains. We know exactly what our important business events are, and we now have a greater understanding of the business itself. And how it's affected us, it's absolutely been a joy, because it's just been fostering this great culture of collaboration where everyone's opinion matters, from the tech to the product people to the stakeholders, sitting in a room together. And it's actually called something that's called a war room, where everyone is just throwing out ideas, see what sticks, and then we take what sticks and we digitize it, we formalize it, and then we take that and we write these user stories, and it goes into what is called our sprints, which is our development cycles. And then just to show you guys some of the reading material that we've been reading, and what this presentation is based on, I'm leaving the links here for you guys. I don't know if we're sharing the presentation afterwards, but if not, feel free to ping me, and I will send along these books. Highly recommend for anyone in tech to read it. Don't develop without reading these books. I made that mistake. And it really does create a strong foundation for any engineer developing software. And that is me. Thank you very much. And if there's any questions in the Q&A, I will see now.
Okay, Yannick, we really enjoyed that. Again, I just want to express my gratitude for joining us today and tackling quite a complex topic for many of us. Even though you would imagine in the insurance industry in general, we are quite well versed in the in the language of fintech. It's always fascinating to hear what all of you are doing out there in the industry. And it stays with our theme for the day because, as you know, Easy Protect is our event sponsor, part of the Easy Equities Group. And we are very grateful for your support here today, Easy Protect, and we wish you all of the best with your product that you've recently launched to market. I asked you at the beginning of our episode or our conference this morning that you must stay on until the end because we are keeping the best for last. And I shouldn't say that because I think all the speakers were absolutely fantastic today. But we have a very special speaker for you today. Ian McDonough is the CEO of Resilia. Now, Resilia is a reinsurance broker, and I have a very soft spot in my heart for Resilia because they were one of the reasons why AMI could go to market so successfully because they were responsible for putting our reinsurance program together. That's completely unrelated to the InsureTalk conference here, but just to demonstrate that my experience from Resilia is they're reinsurance brokers, but they're also business partners. And they work very hard to help I know that they've got hundreds of partners in their stable to help them to succeed in a very challenging and complex environment. And let's face it, reinsurance is something that scares a lot of us, not only because we often get threatened by the reinsurers. We will remember the recent the national grid failure exclusion that came to haunt us toward the end of last year. And we're still dealing with that because we have a number of iterations on that exclusion. And these guys deal with the reinsurers. So Ian McDonough, Ian started in reinsurance in 1986 and he has significant experience as a client advocate to key South African treaty clients with a particular focus on UMAs. Before starting Resilia, Ian was CEO of Willis Re South Africa, where he worked for more than 21 years. It's really so that Ian is one of the stalwarts of our industry, and he is well known by many around the table today. He's got a BSc honours, and he's a member of the Chartered Institute of London. It's amazing to think that Resilia will soon be entering their 10th year. And they have been recently voted the top independent niche reinsurance consultant in South Africa in the latest 2023 NMG survey. I can vouch for that. The team at Resilia is fantastic. And we thank Ian for making himself available at relatively short notice to tackle the topic of update on the market and trends of the global and local reinsurance landscape. That is going to be a fascinating topic, and I look forward to it. Ian, over to you.
Thanks very much, Christelle. And yeah, good afternoon to everyone. I think the one thing I've taken out of that introduction, I'm quite old, so just bear with me as I go through that because quite a lot of years. But yeah, it's a privilege to be here today, and yeah, it's an environment that has always held a lot of passion for me, and yeah, it's something that has become very intricate across a number of disciplines, and none more so than the reason why we formed Resilia. I mean, it's always been something that is, I suppose, anathema to a lot of the markets, but we find ourselves integrated into, if you like, many positions with regard to data analysis, and that was good to hear some of Yannick's commentary. But what I've done is you'll see that come out. I've put a brief slideshow together. So yeah, I'll stick that up now and take you through the main presentation. Can you all see that? Right, can you see that?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much.
Great. Okay. So yeah, my topic, Christelle asked me to talk about was trends and subsequent challenges for all of us from a global and local reinsurance landscape. And the way I'll tackle it for you all is I just want to take you back to the past, the last 3 or 4 years, which has had massive changes to our industry. I'll give you what's happened at present, and then obviously the challenges and what we see are going to be not insurmountable, but a paradigm shift in everything what we do as we go into the future. Okay. If I go into the past positions, as you're all aware, the market was hit heavily by COVID, which had a massive impact. We then had the Sasria, the massive Sasria came in KZN with all the looting. That was followed by KZN floods, okay? And there has been, over the last 3 to 5 years, a massive proliferation of individual large losses. Now, when you look at those, the context of those types of losses, historically, worldwide reinsurers have always been very happy to support South Africa for many different reasons. Main one from a reinsurance perspective, that it was always seen as a non-catastrophic accumulating territory. There was a paucity of major loss in this country. Every now and again, we would have our Gauteng hail, but, you know, they weren't, I mean, yeah, the severity of that wasn't bad. And, you know, yeah, the programs that they participated on still gave them a requisite return to their shareholders. And now what's happened as a result of all of that is, yeah, reinsurers have found themselves in quite a difficult position. Their results have not been good. And I think on top of that, just to give you some sort of idea, which I think will resonate with all of you, we've had a global environment of increased inflation. And, you know, the guys overseas that have been always used to sometimes negative inflation and returns on investments of, you know, some of them under 0%, but yeah, very small 1-2% are now sitting at levels. I mean, the UK was up to probably 8 or 9% last year. So you've got the shareholders of reinsurers worldwide looking at what they're doing in South Africa and saying, you know, we can get a better return just putting our money into fixed, you know, into a fixed deposit. So that's what's building up, okay? So where we are at present, it's impacted, and I'll bundle this for all of you. I'll talk about structure, I'll talk about price, and I'll talk about terms and conditions. Again, this is really just a sweetener to give you an understanding of the landscapes, okay? It's not an in-depth discussion, and it's not every single point that is driving the behavior of those three headings. If we start with structure, okay, what has happened is as a result of the position of loss, reinsurers around the world have started to reduce capacity quite substantially. And when I say that, it's particularly in the property classes. You've also found that there's a shift fundamentally out of property and the need, if you like, to from a product point of view, try to rebalance their portfolios. So the niche areas like liability, aviation, marine, guys are starting to go into, you know, into those classes of business to, you know, to balance their portfolio better than just writing monolined property, commercial and corporate. I think the next big thing, again, from a high level that is systemic to the reinsurer's behavior, I call it the scale of justice. And what's happened is there's been a lot of analytical work that's come into the fore, which we do a lot of. And what I mean by the scale of justice is for too long now, the reinsurer has been there as the recipient of larger risk and catastrophe losses, and to a certain extent, to some accounts that found themselves in a very poor attritional loss ratio position. So in their analysis over the last 7 odd years, the insurance companies are making good money and they're making losses, okay? So I think, you know, that has played a big part. As a result of that, just again at a high level, a lot of the terms and conditions have changed, but I think the big ones are a drop in commission, and I'll unpack that just now because I think that's important so that everyone can really understand how reinsurance fits into, if you like, the overall landscape of insurance. And obviously, there's been a proliferation of new exclusions that have come in to the market, and obviously we've got issues like the wars that are going on in Ukraine and Russia, and obviously that's impacting quite heavily. So what has that led to? And I think this is what becomes very important, and you will see there is a common thread to this presentation when we unpack what the contributory factors are driving, if you like, overall margin profit or loss from a reinsurance point of view, as well as from an insurance perspective. So yeah, pricing by and large, especially on excessive loss structures, there's been a substantial increase, and obviously that talks to the fact that, you know, the KZN floods was really unexpected. That's cost quite a bit, and there has been a proliferation of other losses, and obviously there was Sastria and the COVID position. Okay, now what's happening more and more is, if you like, your price as well as your commission is now being linked to loss ratio. So if the insurance company or the UMA cannot produce a decent loss ratio, what's happening is they're going to have, if you like, their commissions cut, which obviously impacts on their ability to run their business. Okay, and yeah, the reinsurers have increased their margins because they've been in a loss position for too long, so that has a major impact. So that's, if you like, a very short summary of where we find ourselves presently. So when you add that all up, where does it stack? Okay, because it's no use giving everyone the problems. We have to have in play how we're going to address this and how we're going to find solutions to the problem that we have. One, reinsurers not making good results, and obviously reinsurance structures that are not talking well enough to insurance companies and UMAs to get back to a scale of justice that is truly partnership, where everyone can make money and be satisfied. And then, you know, that's leading to good business all around. So acceptable loss ratios, how are we going to do this? As a start, before I get into more specifics, I think what would be nice for everyone, just to give you an idea, and I'm looking at a property account, okay? Any property account that we're involved with, when we're doing deals, you have to cover the acquisition cost of everyone in the, you know, in the chain of business. So what there always is normally 80% of the time a retail broker on property takes 20%. I'm not going to go into binders or anything like that. I just want to give you an analogy to what, you know, what everyone's up against. Reinsurance margins now between 7.5% and 10%. And again, on average, a company capital stroke their expense base is about 15%. So that total in terms of acquisition to them, plus their own cost to an insurance company or a UMA, is about 42.5%. And as I said, it's not cast in concrete, it differs, but I'm giving you a high level position. So in any of this business, to a UMA or a seeding company, if they write anything, okay, over 57%, it's a problem. Now, what's happened is the reinsurer will now link that loss ratio to commission. So if that loss ratio is higher, it's going to come down, and therefore it's going to eat into the acquisition cost to that insurer or to that UMA, and hence it leaves them with the inability to do business, because you obviously have to cut your operational costs. Yes, we'll get in your own, if you like, trade risk of cutting costs, your own P&L, etc. But ultimately, okay, that is one way to look at your variable costs under your own profit and loss account. But most importantly, it's the loss ratio, because that is ultimately what you need to achieve, a good loss ratio to pay for this and have decent returns to your shareholders. So where we positioned ourselves 10 years ago and have built substantially around that, and hence, again, as I said, the earlier speaker, Yannick, was very interesting. What we found is the architecture of everything you do with regard to data is fundamentally about sitting with whoever's involved in a particular product that would provide the architecture. Okay, so what we've got data analysts here, we've got software analysts that we bought into, and that becomes a relationship that can actually develop quite comfortably, that the data warehouse knows what the incumbent product looks like and can, you know, provide the software for that. We've got a lot of rating. What we've also done is we've got a lot of rating model comparisons. We've got a substantial database into our company, which we analyze all the time so we can see what the trends are. And we share that at a very high level without breaching confidentiality from our 46, 47 odd clients. but it gives common trend and it helps us with the reinsurance. The other thing is that you've got a position in the past where catastrophe loss, etc., the models have been differentiated on a risk address basis. That's not good enough. Our models are geocoded, so it's more accurate and it's more bespoke to each of the clients that are dealt with, and that becomes important. And then on top of that, we've got a flood, earthquake, and other hazard models, okay, like hail, that need to be differentiated to find out exactly what the landscape looks like around South Africa from the point of view of what portfolios are well rated, what exposures are there to those cat elements. And this is a major change from what we've seen in the past. So we delve very deeply. And again, this also talks to the retail broking environment, where a lot of insureds have approached us, and some brokers have approached us, that, you know, not really necessarily might not be happy with the terms and conditions that are being given, and they're comfortable, given their loss ratios, to go into structures that might involve contingency. But once, contingency policy, but once you get into that, you need to know that you have efficacy in your data. So yeah, that landscape is opening up all the time. I gave a presentation a month ago about partnership, and I said, we're delighted. If people want to partner with us, whether it's a retail broker, whatever, you know, we're more than happy to roll out all the analytical work that we do to actually assist, okay, what the various disciplines do. And I think, I mean, I was involved in my past also in corporate, as Christelle said, in big corporates where we had our wholesale colleagues in the same building. And again, with the discussion there, I think a lot of it had to do with the competitive advantage being price. I think that's fundamentally changed, okay? The nature of the business can no longer be done on that basis because it's a shrinking position with regard to the cost. And there is a lot of money left on the table when you have a look from a reinsurance point of view of the losses that they've suffered. So we've got to do our business a lot differently. From a risk management point of view, this is vital as well as we sit with our clients. There's issues around SANS codes. We're finding now, as a result of the political and economic situation, that there's a lot of underinsurance. So there's a lot of work being done around that. Procurement is absolutely vital. We're seeing relationships boom in that sense, where guys, even with salvages, where they're actually going into tender positions and getting more money out of, if you like, a car that's been in an accident. So this is all different paradigm shifts that we're involved with our clients. Obviously, inflation is a big issue, and we do a lot of work around that. Multi-claimants, again, our models all talk to multi-claimants in our data, assisting our clients. And obviously, we do a lot of work on average cost of claim. Things that we, when I go back 10 years ago, there wasn't a lot of this. We go into a deep set dive on the data that we get on claim type and incident rate with our data guys. Obviously, age of policy relative to claims, contingency policies, surveys, risk recommendations, which are now warranties. Now, that became a problem as well, because what you tend to find with some of the loss history is that risk recommendations were put into a survey, and 3 years later, that might have been they need to sprinkler warehouses or whatever the case may be, and we find they have a loss of fire and their sprinklers weren't working. But there was a recommendation for them to get if it was a warehouse sprinklered, and everyone's happy. Those have turned to warranties because nothing was done. It was a fire and the sprinklers weren't working. So there is a change again in that context of how the original insureds as well are evolving with regard to their own risk management of their entities. So what becomes also important under risk management, it's not about price anymore, it's about capacity. Okay, if the capacity is shrinking, but if you can get the capacity, it's not about price, because price has become almost inelastic, not in a funny way, and I'm talking at a very high level, but if you don't have the capacity, it doesn't matter about the price. So it's to get the capacity, and the capacity is driven by all those risk management metrics that I've spoken about. And then in addition, and finally, the last point on this risk management that we're also very involved with some of the clients, they're starting to target, and we're analyzing as well, all right, what broking entities are producing reasonable loss ratios. So it's more a question of vertical integration, not horizontal integration. So what a lot of the clients are doing is they're analyzing who the good brokers, and they might only have 10% of their portfolio. They then entering into close partnership with those retail brokers, because they no longer want 5%, they want 30 or 40 or 50% of the brokers that are producing good loss ratios. That also helps their own P&L, because now they're dealing with less brokers that have more efficacy in the business that they're actually bringing to the market, as opposed to horizontal integration where you're just writing more and more and more a retail broking business where you've got 5% of each one of those retail brokers. And we find that that's fascinating. And we've done a whole lot of analysis in that on partnership. And according to our portfolio of business, a lot of these companies, first year of a new broker, it's a loss. Second year, it's moving more to the 80% or 70%. By the third and fourth years, and because of the partnership and the ability to provide better data that you're analyzing, those loss ratios now become very acceptable. And then just in finality, okay, so when we started Resilia, we had to say, I mean, I don't if many of you, in terms of what, again, of what Yannick was speaking about earlier, I'm a Simon Sinek fan, and when I had a look at a lot of the things that he writes, and I struggled probably 4 or 5 years into the formation of Resilia, was why do we do this? And I think what we came up with were two things. The first thing, the penny finally dropped, took us a while, because you're so busy trying to build a new company, and P&L is very important, and you go after absolutely everything. And sometimes shareholders will say to you, but you can't be, you're ending up being a master of nothing if you're a jack of all trades. So it finally hit us that what we do is, our mantra is we help people in business. So that's why to call us a reinsurance broker is not, that's our vocational hobby. We love it. We love the structure. We're passionate about it. But fundamentally what we do is we help people with businesses. And that's why we've got CAs in our organization, guys that understand business. We've got our actuaries, we've got our data guys, and we offer that full service to entities to produce results. Then it was the cultural value system. And this is what we did coin at the very beginning of Resilia's formation, was an acronym, as you can see there. It's FIR, the I and R squared, and S. And more we've watched how this has affected business as it goes forward. We wanted to be a partner to all the business partners that we actually were successful in gaining. And commoditization to us is not there. Yes, maybe with your personal lines books, etc., it is commoditized, but where we find ourselves in the niche areas, and also with property and the way the landscape is changing into data analysis, etc., our whole mantra is partnership. We don't want to get involved if we're not going to, we can't add value and we can't be there in the long term. And that value system talks to, just there at the bottom, partnership talks to flexibility, it talks to innovation, it talks to intellect, talks to risk management, it talks to relationships, and it talks to service. And that has been our incumbent position, and that's who we've been involved with, and that's what we stand for. I know I've gone pretty quick through this. Only had a couple of days to put it together, but I hope it gives you some sense of how across the landscape, whether it be insurance companies, UMAs, reinsurance brokers, or wholesale retail brokers, there's a big play for us to come together and to have more communication of how we can help each other. We don't want to be isolated, and we break all those distribution channels to be in a position where we can all help each other to actually start producing better underwriting results, better margins, okay, and better loss ratios, which will have benefit right across the board to our overall industry. And on that basis, thanks very much for listening. If anyone's got any comments, I think I'll probably almost overrun my time. It's nearly 1:45. But if you've got queries, you can also just, I don't know what they do on the system, but email me or whatever you want to do. But thanks very much, guys. Thanks for listening to me.
And just like that, we've reached the end of today's conference. If you're still around, thank you so much for joining us. It's also always so fascinating to me to see how many people stay right until the end. Just a note that you must go onto the InsureTalk.co.za portal to go and register for your CPD points. You will get your certificates. Everything will be sent to you. And we want to wish you a very successful 2024. It's our first conference of the year. It just feels like this year has started at a speed that no one can comprehend. Can you believe last month we were still on holiday? But we wish you the best of success for this year, and we hope to see you at the March conference again. Please go onto the portal, sign up for all of them, and it's so easy. Even though I host this conference, I sometimes forget about it, that I have to come and do this today. And I get reminders a few days before the time the conference is about to start. So go and register. And please, if you are a business owner or you are a team leader or a CEO of a company, get your staff to join in. I mean, if you think about what we spoke about today and how your mind broadens with topics that don't just fall into the area that you work in, get your staff to join in. They can sit with their headsets on while they're busy with other work, still be educated, earn those CPD points, and join the virtual conversation. So thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you next month.